Hello, this is Dan Richardson at the Chapel of the North Hills, and I'm coming to you to discuss one of the possible reasons for human suffering. We've looked at several of these through the guise of the villains of Spider-Man, and so now we're going to consider that one of the reasons that humans suffer, that we experience evil in the world, is people try to get around God. They try to make improvements without going through the one who created us and built us in the first place. We try to improve our situation without consulting the one who controls all the situations. Sometimes we think we can even improve ourselves and make ourselves better without consulting God, using our own efforts to try to improve mankind, or specifically ourselves. We imagine a world, perhaps, where mankind can achieve next level status. Many books and movies, science fiction, have thought about this and considered this possibility of perhaps a next stage of human evolution. Well, in this movie, The Amazing Spider-Man, the notable example is Dr. Curtis Connors. He was a brilliant geneticist working for Oscorp, and he was researching how to combine human DNA with that of a lizard. And this was so that he would be able to regrow his own arm, as lizards can regrow an appendage. So the two elements, though, were successfully merged, and they caused him to regrow his arm, but they also transformed him into a lizard monster. He still had genius level intelligence, but he lost his sanity. He wanted to achieve godlike status for himself. He said, this is his quote, "Human beings are weak and pathetic and feeble-minded creatures. Why be human at all when we can be so much more, faster, stronger, and smarter?" Oh, this sounds familiar. After the flood, the Great Flood, people settled in the land of Shinar, and they decided that they could build their own tower and make themselves equal to God. They said in Genesis 11:4, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. We can make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the face of the earth." Do you remember that toward the end, the climax of the movie, that Connors, the lizard monster, was trying to achieve the heights of a tower? So very symbolic, I believe. Well, in the thousands of years that humans have existed on Earth, we have not evolved. We've perhaps gained average height, inches. Perhaps we have some more scientific knowledge. Perhaps we have better toys. But people are not totally smarter than they have been in the past. So let me give you some examples. Consider that the Bible was passed along orally. Before it was written down, it was passed along orally. And people typically memorized the entire Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. That means they memorized those long genealogies. They memorized the descriptions of the materials for the tabernacle. All of those long lists, they committed them to memory, as well as many, many other scriptures. Another example is Adam. Adam was the first man, and he had the job of naming all of the animals. He had to invent names for every animal on the world. Some of these names are beautiful and majestic names, like ocelot, platypus, and you could tell he was in a very creative frame of mind when he came up with those. Others, they kind of sound like the sound that the animal makes, like the wolf he calls woof. That's what it says. The gecko, when geckos are large enough, we can hear their voice going gecko. Well, they say their names. Some of them he just named for what they do, like anteater. Now, I know Adam didn't speak our language and he didn't come up with those particular names, but he did name every single animal on the planet. And so that's going to take quite a lot of ingenuity and memory. There's another one outside of the Bible. There's a guy named Aristophanes, and he figured out a way to calculate the circumference of the earth. He was a Greek that lived 240 BC, and not only did he realize, as many of his compatriots knew, that the earth was round, but he figured out how far around. And he did so with a stick in the ground looking at the shadow and then counting steps between one city and another. And with those two pieces of data, he calculated the circumference of the earth to be at least 24,000 miles by today's standard. Well, we actually know that it's 24,900 miles. So he was only off by 3%. That's an amazing calculation, an amazing intellect there. Well, the fact of the matter is, we cannot get better without God. We are sinful. We are hard-hearted. God can make us clean and new and allow us to be what we should. There is no next phase of human evolution. But we do have something to look forward to in that regard. Let me remind you of 1 Corinthians 15, 50 to 52, where Paul writes, "Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed." Now that is a change to look forward to. Be blessed.